Tonight we're going to talk about respect. And I'm the guy that respects everybody. I don't care who you are. I love you, and there isn't a damn thing you can do about that. And I respect everyone. You get respect from me automatically. You're one of God's children. You're walking around on the face of the earth. I love you. Until you give me a reason not to. And I'm still going to love you, but from a distance, because you're not mine to handle. You're God's problem. However, my life, my family, my friend circle, the people that I'm worried about, they don't need your toxic attitude. And even if that toxic attitude is just disrespect, I had been doing business with an insurance agent for a long time. And I'd had problems with him in the past. And, he came up to me and said, hey, look, I've got these life things going on. Can you forgive me for, letting your insurance lapse on these houses or whatever? And, I'm like, okay, but let's just make sure that we have a professional relationship. And I had a loss in one of my Oklahoma properties. And I reached out to call a guy, and we were also supposed to be redoing some coverage of mine. I want to talk to him, and he didn't answer me back. I got his voicemail, and I'm busy working with another client, and he wasn't. And he doesn't have a staff in his office. And I called him for 4 days in a row, and then he never calls me back. He always leaves me a text message. Hey, Mark, I'm sorry. I've been running around with these kids. I've been in Florida at Disneyland or whatever the hell it was. And I had little to no cell coverage, which is a lie. I mean, it's an absolute lie. Because you're driving back to Oklahoma from Florida, and there ain't no cell towers between Florida and Oklahoma. You just didn't want to talk to me. And that's disrespectful. And so I finally got fed up with the guy, and I told him, I said, hey, cancel these upcoming policies. And he said he would. And I put a Facebook message out saying I'm looking for a new insurance agent. And an old buddy of mine who still does all my Colorado stuff called me and said, just got approved in Oklahoma. And I said, well, can we transfer these policies over to you? Because you're a independent agent too. And he said, yep, let's do it. And because I didn't want to cancel all these policies, but this guy won't call me back. And this guy gave me a hard way to go all the way. Did you file this claim? Yes. What's the claim number? And who do I talk to? Who's the agent or the adjuster guy or whatever? And he was just giving me these one-word answers. And the appraiser, the guy, said, oh, we didn't know if we were going to go out and see that because your insurance had lapsed. And I paid this agent with a credit card, and some problem. But he doesn't want to address me. He doesn't want to call me and say, hey, Mark, this wasn't me, but I, am working on it for you, even though you were not my client right now. Nothing. I mean, he's got better things to do. And unbelievable, And I don't know what the insurance commission has to say about an agent who doesn't stay in contact with their customers, but I mean, it's disrespectful. And that is the point of this TikTok. I am going to adjust myself to where I'm giving people less and less and less of a chance. And when somebody asks me to do something for them, I do it. And even when my kidneys are failing, and one of my property renters called me and said, hey, our washing machine's broken. I'm on death's door. And I say, hey, go to Lowe's, buy a new one, call them. I'll give them a credit card. If you'll handle it, I appreciate it. I was on death's door, and I got back to my people because that's what you do. And I hired a staff to take care of everything in Denver and everything in Oklahoma because I couldn't. And this guy doesn't even bother to have somebody in his office answer the telephone. I should have quit doing business with this guy a year ago when he screwed up first. And that's the point. Stop giving people chances. The good ones will not allow you to have a chance to wonder about your relationship with them. And pour your heart into those people and just broom these other ones. And don't give them a chance. I was on the phone with this guy that wanted to rent one of my properties in Drumright. It was a big 9-room previous doctor's office that we converted to residential. And so the guy called me and says, I'm interested in doing that. Why? And so I say, okay, tell me who's living there. I run through this little thing. I said, tell me who's living there. And he says his wife and 3 kids, but then her sister and their 3 kids are going to want to move in. I'm like, that's awesome. Because I'm trying to build these multi-generational places where people can split the utilities, split the rent, save up money, and then we sell them a house. When it's time, they save up the down payment, and we buy them a house and then finance it for them, and we try to get people from rental to ownership. And if 8 people are living in one place, college style, you can save up some money and get out there and really do something, especially if we're helping you. And so I tell them, hey, that's a great idea. I love that concept. I said, what's the credit scores look like? And he said, it's not great and blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, do we have enough money? What's the money situation? Well, my wife makes $50,000 a year. And I said, okay, well, you think you can afford the place? Well, it's the top of our budget, but if my sister wants to move in, then we can do it. So it's $1,200 place, so it meant $600 aside. And I said, okay. What about criminal background? Oh, well, I have some criminal things in my background. I'm 54, and in my 20s, I had some, drunk in public things or whatever. I'm like, okay, no property crimes, violent crimes. Not that I remember. Okay. So you can tell where this is going. And then I said, well, you got any evictions? That's a problem. Well, we're currently being evicted because, we got behind a little bit, $200, and then this heartless corporation we were renting to just sent me to an eviction, and they wouldn't let me pay off the $200. They're just kicking me out. And I said, oh, okay. And he said, but, the judge said since, we were willing to pay, that it's going to be an eviction, but, there's some excuses for it or whatever. And I said, well, it's $35 each person over 18 living in the house to do a background check through Zillow. And he said, well, I don't want to spend $35 if you're just going to deny me, because I've had others do that. And I said, well, I'll be honest. I'm going to be very honest with you. We talk about it, and if you're being honest with me and we think we're going to take you, we have you do the application. And if new things pop up, then we don't. But if we talk to you and you told me everything first, then we can do it. But I got to be honest with you, if $35 is meaningful to you, I don't think you can afford this place. And he said, no, I got $5,000. And I'm thinking, why didn't you pay that guy his $200? And he said, well, I just don't want to be with somebody who's going to make a big deal if I'm late. And I said, you're talking to somebody who's going to make a big deal. If you're $5 late, one day after your grace period, I'm going to evict you. And that's going to be my new policy, because I'm sick and tired of wasting time. And I'm going to do another video about this for my real estate students. And I'll finish this story in that video. But don't allow people to disrespect you. Take a little bit of a lesson from Big Papa and just broom them fast. And if nobody told you they love you, I do.